Hey, this is Brett the Hitman Hart, the best there is, best there was, and the best there ever will be. And you're listening to the Smacked Raw podcast.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Smack Raw podcast, your one-stop shop for all your wrestling recaps, reviews, pay-per-view predictions. But we're not here to talk about any old wrestling. We're here to talk about the podcast. Obviously, you know what we're all about because you've been here with us for 100 episodes. That's right, guys. This is our 100th episode. Guys, we did it. We made it 100 episodes in. So, obviously, I am your host. Cien, there you go. Damn, love the Spanish, Kyle. Love the Spanish. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. It's getting better. We're getting work in progress. But what isn't a work in progress is this show. 100 episodes in. I am your host, SES Vince. I'm also joined by the entire cast of the Smack Raw podcast. I have the forefather, Kyle. How's it going, dude?
What's up, man? Glad to be here. 100 episodes in. Can't wait to go ahead and do this episode botch free.
Botch free.
Too late for that. Too late for that.
You can find him on Twitter at the Kai Tai Show. But not only him, because he didn't start this podcast by himself. I also have Mr. Rob Rude, Mr. Pokemon Rob himself. What's up, my man?
This is the second time we're recording this because we got through the episode and we were like high five and we smoked cigars and we drank champagne in celebration and Kyle was like, I didn't record it.
Yeah, thanks. So we'll just put that out there now.
Thank you for breaking kayfabe, Rob. Anyway, Rob can be found on Twitter at 2 words can't see me on Twitter. I almost botched it, but I recovered. I didn't pull a Kyle.
Jesus Christ.
We're also here joined by the AJ Styles of podcasting, Mr. Sebastian himself. What's up, dude?
Man, for someone that tries to keep up with kayfabe so much, Rob really screwed it up there, didn't he?
Oh, he really did. It wasn't very phenomenal of him, I guess you could say.
No, I am phenomenal. I am phenomenal.
But someone who is phenomenal is our very own Kevin Owens lookalike, Mr. Kevin. What's up, bro?
Chilling, man. Excited to be here for the 100th episode.
That's exactly what he said the first time.
No, it's not.
Hey, man, I'm a consummate professional. What can I say? I stick to the script.
Kayfabe.
You know?
First time I was talking about how he dropped stunners and stuff, and this time it didn't get said.
Well, you can follow this consummate professional on Twitter, guys. At Kevin Crazy 316, and that's crazy with a K. He's out there dropping Twitter stunners all over on everybody.
Yeah, there you
go. We also have Calavera Comedy, Mr. Benji himself. He's not on the call with us right now. We're hoping that he joins us halfway through it, but we do have my very good friend here, Mr. J Thunder. What's up, dude?
What's up? It's the new kid on the block. What's going on, guys?
That's all he said there.
Hey, the new breed, the newest face and the newest addition to the Smack Raw podcast. He is a local friend of mine. He is an indie wrestler here in the Chicago area. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram at JThunder2009.
Yeah, we got it in there, Jay.
Got it in there this time. Obviously, you can find the podcast at Smack Raw Pod on Twitter. But with that being said, enough of the intros, enough of the plugs. Guys, let's talk about us. Let's talk about the show. Yeah, we've been on here for a minute. For the second time around, second time's the charm. Guys, you, Kyle, Rob, you guys obviously...
Past, I already know the answer to.
he studied in the meantime. Is what he did.
Oh my gosh, I can't with you guys. Kyle, Rob, you guys obviously started this podcast. Tell us about how this came about.
Rob tells it good.
I tweeted, okay, time to get for real serious. Okay, I tweeted out one day that, no, the first time around, I did forget to plug it. I wanted to do a Destiny podcast, but a Destiny smart. I can't do Destiny. There's lore, like, Destiny will put something on the screen, and I was just like, what? They're telling me a story. So I tweeted out that somebody should do a wrestling podcast and call it the Hot Tag Podcast. And a friend of mine that came from Pokemon Twitter who happens to also like wrestling, so he followed me on my wrestling, said, you should make a hot tag podcast. And I said, well, I need a partner if I were to make a podcast. And Kyle chimed in not 2 minutes later, and he's like, hey, I would need a partner too. I've been wanting a podcast partner, blah, 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 blah. So I DM'd Kyle. We got together on Skype that night, talked about it, and 2 days later or so, we recorded our first episode.
It was, we, it's really what it was. A year prior, I tried, I actually still have like pilot episode of a podcast I was trying to start called Under the Ring. And I already set up the YouTube channel, everything, and it was like 2 weeks into it, I come to find out someone already had the damn name. Yeah, it hurt, man. It hurt. What hurt even worse was their last podcast they had done was like a year and a half ago. But I still didn't want to go like through the confusion. And plus, the guy I tried to start it up with, he didn't want to. He fell through. So yeah, I laid there in limbo until I saw on Twitter, which I had just started doing. Someone named like Rob essentially said, I want to do a podcast, but I need a partner. And yeah, I just threw it out there. I was in the same boat. I think that's actually what I said is like, I'm in the same boat, man. And I didn't think much of it. Rob hit me up. And I remember being discouraged because it was like, oh, someone else is actually putting the work in. Like, I have to show up. Because I was so used to, like, start-stop projects, and no one ever really held me accountable. And Rob, actually, you guys say I drive the ship. Rob was the one hitting me up every day, like, we shooting tonight, we shooting this. And all of a sudden, I had someone that I could let down if I just skipped on it. So Rob forced me to do it, and here we are 100 episodes later, man.
Yeah, and here's something I didn't ask the first go around. Kyle, obviously we know why Rob wanted to start it. He thought of the name. Stop it. Rob obviously wanted to start it because of the name. He thought that'd be cool. Kyle, why did you want to start the podcast? Like, because you said you kind of had like another podcast you want to start up, but it didn't get off the ground. Why did you want to start a podcast?
Well, I was inspired by another. Okay, cool. I was not gonna name drop them, but since we're there, yeah, I was name drop. It was. I know you, boo boo. Steven Larson, and really what enticed me was I was like, okay, these guys are relatable. They don't come across as cheesy like sports hosts, everything, and not to mention they're building a community. And at the time, like I wanted to feel like I was part of some form of community because I live in like the sticks. And I mentioned beforehand, it's really awkward to try and make friends when you're an adult. There's just a stigma about it. You already have an established life, and trying to create new memories with someone else who has their life going, I don't know, it could be awkward. The podcast was like a perfect outlet. I actually got to enjoy my fandom, contribute to content, and then inadvertently, I've, like I said, made friends with you guys. You guys have been like, I've made more friends doing this show now than like I have in real life for many years. So it was, I guess if you take through that, I wanted to create content. I wanted people to enjoy wrestling with other people, and inadvertently, it sounds so cheesy, man. Made friends. I just made friends doing this. Like it was cool. Yeah, man. It's just
that's so sweet. That's so sweet.
You got me in the feels, man.
I feel like that actually matters.
Okay, so we've established how the idea came about and how you guys interacted with each other and got the train and got the ball rolling, so to speak. When did we start? Like, when was our birthday, I guess? When were we born?
So the debut episode was in May. Shortly after, I think, my birthday, dude, believe it or not.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was. I think I had just gone to the Epic Center Music Festival. Let's see here, our podcast dashboard. I'll tell you right now.
You went to the Epic Center Music Festival.
Yeah, that junk.
And the show got canceled because of it.
I'm telling you, man. But
that's right.
So our very first episode was a Raw review, and we published it May 15th. So, okay. Yeah, so we just hit 6 months, 5 days ago.
Nice.
Oh, man. Man. Good plug. You guys ready for this one? Our first episode didn't get recorded.
Yeah.
Oh,
It didn't get recorded when
do
it
you
was
sense
supposed to. I
a
forgot all
theme
about
here?
this.
Do you?
I
Sense...
forgot all about this. Okay. No, man, Kyle, you totally just reminded me. We were all set up. I was all set up in my living room. Like, now I have a desk here at my mic. At the time, I had a microphone that, like, I glued to my coffee table, and I was all ready to go. And then Kyle hits me up on Twitter. He's like, call me. Like, wait, what? Like, okay. So I call him, and he's like, bro, I had people come to my house, and I'm drunk.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, shit. Yeah, I remember. My bad, Rob.
I was like, okay, well, let's try again next week.
Yeah. No, we were supposed to shoot our debut episode the day before.
After a SmackDown.
Yeah.
SmackDown. And you're like, we'll try Raw next week, man.
Yeah, because like my family came from Maine, and I was like, look, I got to shoot this pilot episode, but then like just a party kind of happened.
I could tell you like, sorry, man, it's beer pong.
It's beer pong.
Beer.
It's like a bonfire. It was a good time. If I remember correctly, it was a good time.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
you guys did get the podcast up and running, and we are here today celebrating 100 episodes. It wouldn't have happened without the both of you, but the two of you guys. Obviously, Kyle, you said that if it wasn't for Rob constantly pushing you at the beginning, you wouldn't have continued like pursuing this. Now knowing that you have someone that you can't let down, and you had to like help with, and you have an actual partner. I was saying this like every good like leader needs like that good support system, and I felt like Rob has been that for you initially when starting up the show. Yeah,
absolutely. Like I didn't know nothing from nothing. I was just like, hey, I have a mic that's collecting dust. I'll go ahead and talk, and Rob took the producing reins and everything. But then Rob taught me the stuff. I mean, it's really what it was. Like, I didn't want to step on his foot. This was our brainchild. But Rob only wanted to record once a week, and my vision was I wanted us to recap everything. I wanted to recap everything WWE and then branch off to other brands. And Rob, if you didn't already catch it, Rob works 20 hours. I don't know how Rob manages life. I swear you don't get more than 3 hours of sleep a night. Dude.
Yeah, 4. That's about it.
4. Yeah.
Jesus.
He's on that Vince schedule, man. He's on that Vince McMahon schedule.
I guess.
Yeah. So, anyways, that is what led us to this next fella right here. I wanted to start up AEW, or not AEW, excuse me, NXT and 205 Live, and this fool came out of nowhere and ended up blowing the show away. It was Benji. And yeah, it was dope having Benji come on the show for certain, man.
Speaking of Benji, dude, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up?
Oh my god.
Oh snap, it's Benji. Oh my god.
Man, it is a week of returns, huh? Last night we have CM Punk returning to WWE content. Today we have Benji joining us for the Smack Raw podcast,
which is a little bit bigger.
Yeah. It's a bigger deal. Come on, I mean, Benji is a big deal to begin with. Benji, obviously, like Kyle was saying, dude, like not to like jump right into it as soon as you join us, but how did it come about? Like you joining the podcast and recapping NXT and 205 Live with Kyle, because Rob didn't want to do it, but Kyle wanted to expand, and obviously he needed the manpower, and you came along.
Well, I just got it on Twitter, and Kyle he slid into my DMs like a thief in the night. Begging for somebody to be on the podcast. So I was like, all right, that was cool. I felt, I felt the energy. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll be a guest, whatever. I think this was around one of the takeovers. I think.
Yeah, it was leading into the takeover for SummerSlam, I believe.
Right. So I was just like, yeah, you know what? It's a badass takeover. I watched it. I was like, cool. I'm gonna be on this podcast, whatever, And that's pretty much all it was. I think they were just looking to expand, and sometimes just things fall in the right place. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, to go deeper into it, because Benji isn't one to gas himself up. Benji wound up being super knowledgeable. Like, not only that, like Benji is like super funny on the show. And,
at first, we called him the encyclopedia.
Yeah,
because like, we could legit like ask anything. He'd be like, "Oh, April 28th, 1982."
Yeah. So yeah, he's kind of like Sebastian's like thing too for like this Rain Man memory that they have over here about wrestling events.
Rain Man memory. Wow.
See,
I mean, that's a good word for it.
Thank you. I thought that was complimentary.
Is it sad? I can remember like things from when I was 9-year-old, but I can't remember where I put my car keys 5 minutes ago.
I think that's me too. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
That's just getting old, man.
Yeah.
Getting old.
Oh,
but go ahead, gas him up, Kyle.
Yeah, no. So Benji ended up being like he was like low key that he attends local shows very often. He's very fluent with like other brands like 205 Live. I had no real interest in covering. It was more NXT, but Benji got me into 205 Live. I ended up being really thankful. Like that's where I developed my fandom of Drew Gulak was through that show. And then the incident happened where Benji secured us our breakthrough interview with Queen of NE.
Oh shit.
And this fool left me high and dry. Like, it gives me a week, right? And so I'm like, hey man, what are we doing for this interview? Like, have you talked to her? Like, what are we doing? And Benji's like, oh, I don't know, I'm running late, like always, and left me with 1 hour to dig into this person. I had no clue of who she was, nothing. I literally was like listening to one of her podcasts while going through her Twitter, like trying to get as much info to salvage some damn interview. And if you want to hear it, man, I got it.
She's part of Brainbuster, isn't she?
She was, yeah.
So not to cut you off, Kyle, but okay, thanks to Benji, I actually discovered her.
Yeah,
and I actually listened into Benji. Like, you'd be happy to hear this, but I actually listened into the podcast you did with her covering Bound for Glory, and I thought it was a great listen. I thought she was amazing, something that I hope to strive to be, being a host on a podcast. I thought she was very well. I thought you guys had a great chemistry, and I think that's the power of Benji. You know, he has this gravitational pull on Twitter and other people and helps bring eyes to like the product. I feel like without Benji, I don't think we get the momentum that we need to like get the viewers, the downloads, and the attention that we deserve. Benji, he's responsible for me like knowing Queen of NE, knowing those wrestling girls, knowing the Get Show Wrestling podcast, and many, many more. And I think that to Benji, he's really out there networking, and he's also out here like basically just being the Paul Heyman of the podcast when he was on board.
Benji's gonna be like a promoter. What? But anyways, if you want to hear this last second thrown together interview that actually I'm proud of, that the quality it came out of, it was the Smacked Raw Chat Down with Queen of NE, and it was on June 28th that we shot the episode. Check it out, man, and you'll see, you can hear some of just like the whole, like, we're not trying to be overly apologetic, but try to be real with her, like, hey, we're just going to wing it today. Like, you know, and we ended up having a lot of fun, man, and she was super cool. So, but Benji helped introduce myself to her. Even if it wasn't under the most structured circumstances, it was still a ton of fun.
To be fair, it wouldn't be the Smack Raw podcast if it didn't fall on its face the first initial times. So, like you mentioned, Kyle, unfortunately, Benji ran late that one time. Rob didn't really have the interest to cover NXT and 205 Live because that wasn't his forte. That's not what he envisioned the show to be. You wanted the show to expand. You needed the manpower. You needed another guy, which leads us to Sebastian, who is the fourth member of the podcast in chronological order. How did Sebastian come about? What led you to him? And talk to us about that.
That was actually, so at this point we don't know what happened to Benji, or no, I think Benji was still part of the show. He just
Benji was still on board.
Yeah, he just wasn't available. That wasn't the first time that we just really thought like tragedy had fallen on Benji, but we'll get to that one later. Where we were putting out like APBs in Chicago on him, but no, we were just trying. Yeah. We were trying to shoot an episode, and we were still in the phase where we were trying to get guests on the show. It wasn't so much looking for permanent members. But, yeah, I threw out a post, and Sebastian responded. He said he would do it if he had equipment, and I told him just, like, go to Target, buy a headset, and download Discord, and you can be a guest on the show. And Sebastian ended up being so cool that I was like, yo, we have to have you on every night. Like, and I think, Sebastian, correct me if I'm wrong, at that point you recorded 3 months straight, I want to say, if not more, without missing a single episode.
I don't know if it was 3 months. My first day was actually July 23rd, SmackDown. It was the Miz TV segment with Shawn Michaels. That was my first show.
The Miz TV is when you made your debut?
Yeah, with Shawn Michaels.
Or are you just highlighting the episode?
No, that was my first podcast.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. Rob
that was the Miz TV that crushed my heart.
Yeah, Rob was on vacation and you didn't have nobody. And he was just looking for a guest. But no, like he said, it wasn't really a permanent invite. About 20 minutes in, we started really, we gelled and we started talking about some old stuff. And Kyle had an idea to do some throwbacks, and
that wasn't my idea. That was your idea.
No, it was yours because I remember.
No, I appreciate it, but that was your idea, Seb.
Okay, fine. It was my idea, but at the time, I thought that was just going to be mine and Kyle's thing. I didn't think I'd be on for, Raw, SmackDown. And, the next day, I guess Benji didn't make it back or something. He's like, have you watched 205 Live from last night? And I was like, not yet. He's like, well, can you? That kind of started my, I don't know, like Kyle said, I probably didn't miss a show for
several months,
20 some episodes, I would say. So yeah, that's pretty much.
I mean, Sebastian, you were the new guy onto the show, and as I know, and a lot of the guys here on the show know, is that you're very forthcoming with ideas. You try to bring stuff to the table to try to improve the show as much as you can in terms of content, and just in general, just trying to make the show better. I know I struggled with this initially when I came on board, but how was it for you coming in there, just finding your own, getting more comfortable with everyone and being more comfortable with just taking a step and not feeling so nervous about stepping on any toes? Because I know for a fact that Kyle is the one that we kind of bring the ideas to, but Rob is one of the main guys that started the show. And like I was saying, I give credit to Rob in this because a lot of guys, starting a podcast would be like, no, that's my show. I don't want you to do this. I don't want to do that. But you've kind of given us free reins when it comes to Sebastian, Benji, and myself to just go out there and do our thing. You've put your trust in us. Initially, it's not easy to come onto a podcast and just try to do your thing. But Sebastian, how was it for you when you initially came on, and what it is for you now?
Well, when I came on, I really wanted to do well, and I guess before I answer that question directly, I'll use this. I was actually wanting to start a podcast of my own. Me and Kyle talked about that when I, joined. I was kind of in the same boat he was. Just didn't want to do it by myself, And
I forgot all about that. Yeah, you did want to start your own stuff.
So at the time, I thought I would be on here till, I don't know, January, and then I'd branch off and do my own thing. But I'm here for a long run now because I enjoy you guys. But one, I was nervous, but I wanted to do well, and so I kind of, and because I wanted to do well or start my own thing, I wanted us to succeed. That's why I've never really had a problem with coming up with new ideas. I want the best for us, as well as you all do. But yeah, Rob, and I don't know if it's where Rob's kind of more silent than Kyle. He's only one show a week, so I do.
Hey, I'm on
kind of where. So,
I do Raw and
well, before AEW, he was one show a week.
Raw and SmackDown, bro. You give me my 2 shows.
You miss sometimes, bro. But yeah, I was kind of afraid of pissing Rob off more than I was Kyle, just because I was less familiar with Rob there for a while. I wasn't on with him that much or talked to him as much as I did Kyle. But eventually, yeah, I just, that went away. And I was kind of the one that brought up the idea of, adding more people after I came. So.
Is a great segue, Sebastian, because I was actually gonna ask, because like you come up with some ideas, Kyle comes up with some ideas. I know everyone here tries to bring something to the table, and I was just about to ask, whose idea was it to bring more people on to the show? Because you guys kind of like just went in there and went full NWO WCW style and just added a bunch of people all at once. That's when around the same time Kevin and I joined, along with like the very short stint of Colin and Sarah, who has yet to like been on the show, but who I hope join us one day down the line. Again, how did that come about? Like why did you guys feel the need to go ahead and add more people to us?
Well, Rob, his 1 to 2, sometimes 2 shows a week. And then, we thought Benji was dead.
Yeah,
we did. We literally did.
That was part of it. Yeah, no. Okay, so let's segue. Do you guys, who here, does everybody know about, that we legit thought like tragedy had befallen our dear Benjamin?
Benji just disappeared one day.
Yeah.
Like literally, he just... gone.
Well,
it was to the point where I ended up with his phone number and I was texting him, bro, are you dead? Like,
and at that point, like Kyle said, I was on 20-some shows in a row, and Kyle recorded all these shows. So me and him was, we was a dragon.
And, again, we're not going to go into any personal details because that's not what we're about. But like Benji, obviously, you kind of just like disappeared and just went full Undertaker and decided to reappear at WrestleMania
full
time.
Undertaker.
His phone broke.
Dude,
his phone broke.
So,
all right.
Yeah, tell us about that, guys. How was it, like, legit, like, when did Benji just disappear, and like how did you guys like figure, okay, we need to add more people because we don't know what's going on with Benji?
So I put it out there first. Like, me and Rob had been trying to hit him up. Like, me and Rob were like kind of like talking to each other privately, like, yo, have you heard anything from Benji? And then after like 2 weeks of him just ghosting us, I was like, well, Benji's obviously too cool, because look, let's just put out there, dude. Benji is talented, man. Benji has legit talent. He's also a very busy and hardworking dude. You need to check out like all of his social media platforms. He has funny edits. Like he's an awesome promoter and shit. So we were like, okay, Benji just graduated, and we're like, we'll silently just write him off the show. We won't, no hard feelings, but we just figured that's kind of what happened. So we'll just like, I even put it out there. I was like, hey, look, we're just gonna drop mentioning him until we get a clearer picture, because we're gonna seem like that crazy ex-girlfriend just talking about that person that left us, and not like so. At that point, I was like, we got to get someone to fill his role, but Benji wears many hats, so we were like, we need to recruit a whole team to fill in for just one Benji.
So he's like the Brock Lesnar, like he's so dominant that not one person can fill his role.
Yeah.
Well, at the time too, because when Benji disappeared, AEW and NXT was its. AEW wasn't here yet, and NXT was an hour.
Yeah.
Me and Kyle knew there was so much more about to pile on.
And we knew we didn't want to miss the AEW train. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to pass on that. So, yeah.
Benji, during this time, obviously you don't have to talk about anything you don't want to, but during this time, were you aware that these guys were trying to reach out to you, or like, did you knew that they were like in shambles without you, or like what was happening on your end?
I kind of figured. Well, first of all, I mean, thanks for y'all for gassing me up. Or this feels good, No, I was not aware that they were trying to reach me until later on. Essentially, what happened was I got into a little car accident, whatever, no big deal.
He was in a coma.
No big deal. That's a car accident. What are you talking about?
He was in a coma. I couldn't reply.
I was hospitalized a bit, just that, intubated, all that stuff,
So basically trying to make the car look weak, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. I no-sold the car crash,
Hey.
No, so that's what happened, and then, so I start, my phone was gone with the wreck, whatever. I had a new phone and everything, and then I start seeing all the messages. The urgent concern, like of just for my well-being. It was just like, okay, these guys really care. I must have really made an impact, just from being on a podcast for a few weeks. It was great. It was great to feel needed,
The hilarious part was when Benji came back, there was like 4 more people in the group chat.
I came back, and then there's like 5 different voices. I don't know who's who. What's going on?
Apparently, we all sound alike.
I didn't say that.
Benji, I actually said that before we started recording. I said that a lot of initially when I listened to the podcast for the first time, I wasn't sure who was Seb and who was Rob. I knew who was who. I knew there were 2 different people. I just didn't know whose voice belonged to who.
Yeah. So that's essentially what happened. I came back, and they like to gas me up, but they were doing pretty well on their own. Like the podcasts were great. Like you had great new introductions, new people. It was all good, But me and my dramatic ass, I come back from the dead, all random, out of nowhere.
I still love that Benji was like, "So, what's new, you guys?" And like, I had the first reply, and I was like, well, we sort of replaced you."
Actually, okay. So this is kind of going to segue. So like you were saying, you felt like you needed more people. There was more content on the way with AEW, NXT going to 2 hours. Benji was like in the shadow realm or something.
Dude,
I don't know.
We mourned him. Like we have a little funeral.
Okay. So at this point, you guys are having, I guess, kind of like auditions for new members of the podcast,
Wait,
and that's
time out. Just to check. We are recording right now, right? Just to check.
Oh, yeah. Shoot. Hold on.
Bad.
Yeah, we're recording. We're
recording.
Okay. So again, back to what I was saying. At this point, you guys are kind of doing like hosting interviews, roll calls for new members of the podcast. Obviously I know where I came from, but like let's talk about Kev. Big Kev over here.
Big Kev.
Big Kev.
Bro, I know you've been silent for a minute. Let's talk about you. Let's hear your story. How were you approached, or did you approach them? How did this opportunity came about? And just tell me what like motivates you and gave you the inspiration to join onto this whole group.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that it was Seb's post that I saw first. That was just like, "Hey, we're looking for a new member for our podcast. Anybody want to do it?" And like, I had only been on Twitter for like a couple months, honestly, but like I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to make some kind of content, and I was like, screw it, I'll give it a shot and see what happens, And so, I reached out to him, and he asked me like, "Well, so what do you watch? What are you into?" And so I told him, I was watching all the WWE stuff, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna watch, AEW when that starts." And then I think it was either that night or the next night, him and Kyle called me. We just had a conversation, and they were like, "Yeah, man, why not? Yeah, check it out." It was my first show was the All Out pay-per-view for AEW.
Hell yeah, man.
And that was like a little bit before episode 50 too, Kevin, because like you did the whole interview, you went through the process, you got hired on the spot, and immediately, like I think even the next night or 2 nights later, you joined them for the All Out pay-per-view. Yep. How was that like?
Yeah.
How'd you feel about like being on the show, and like how do you feel like from episode 1 to like now? How has your experience been?
Well, I mean, like when I first came, I was nervous as all get out, like, as I'd never really done anything like this before, I didn't really know anybody that was on the show all that well. Like, I literally talked to those dudes like once, so I was like, oh, all right, see what's going on. Now I feel pretty comfortable, and like what Kyle was saying earlier, making friends in your 30s just sucks, and like, and I don't really have any, friends I do have friends in real life. But
everybody group hug for Kevin.
Yeah, group hug
for Kevin.
I have no friends.
No, but like
Nobody likes me.
none of my friends are really into wrestling. You know what I mean? So
I
like
have the same
only
problem.
time
You know what? I
Yeah.
think that's a thing. I think that's like definitely a thing because I definitely have that same situation. Like if you're not into whatever, if you're not into like or on this side, if you're not into Empire or anything that's going on TV, because I don't even watch TV. The only time I ever watch TV is for wrestling. That's the only
Right.
time. And
I watch
maybe
Empire.
maybe
Throwing that out
some
there.
cartoons. So
yeah. So
I definitely
like
understand.
it's nice to be able to BS with some people about wrestling, you know. That was one of the biggest motivations that I had, you know, at first, because it was like, you know, I'd watch all this stuff and like my freaking son hates wrestling because he's a jerk, and
Failing him
like
as a father on that respect.
What's that?
Boo this
Failing him
kid.
as a father as on that respect. He should be
Boo
born and
this
raised
kid.
with a championship belt around his waist when he comes
Boo
out
this
of the womb.
kid.
Dude, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. He's not into it. Like, I don't know. So it
so
is what
funny.
it is. I mean, my girlfriend, she'll watch with me sometimes, but like
She's not into it, is she?
Yeah, but I mean, she's cool and like she follows it, and she has some wrestlers that, you know, she likes and stuff, but she's definitely not like diehard, or I don't know if I'm diehard.
Does she
but I'm
like
more
the
like a
wrestlers
casual.
because they look good?
she were
Is that
to-
why?
If she
No,
were to
I-
miss 2 weeks, she wouldn't withdraw. Like,
I think we lost Rob.
Real quick, on that note, my daughter used to love wrestling, didn't miss a minute of it.
How are we
Until
gonna get the
Fiend-
first daughter plug and it's not from Rob, man? That's not
And-
fair,
Right.
man.
Right?
And then the Fiend debuted, and
she
yeah,
hasn't really been watching, man. It hurts.
All right.
She started watching shows with my wife. Mass 911. They all happen to be on when wrestling is on.
Oh, it seems to me that like this kind of podcast kind of like helped everyone, not just like to get like something off the ground, but it built some friendships with everyone here. Without the podcast, like, okay, again, not gassing you up, Benji, but I wouldn't have met you. And honestly,
oh, thank you, man.
I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for the podcast. I feel like you're one of my closest friends right now, man. Like, I feel like I can talk about something and you get it, dude. Like I swear, like it's almost like they cloned all my interests and put it into some other funnier guy with like some better looking hair and a better facial hair that has like a better career going on.
And some thick
But,
sunglasses.
dude, like, but without sidetracking too much, like, dude, I actually like everything you do. Like, I hope to like somehow be as good as you in a lot of aspects, like in terms of your like out there like networking with people, your Twitter game. I hope one day to like have someone so mad at me that they block me, just like you do with people on Twitter. It's legit great, and that I think that's what's great
Let me
about
put
the
it out there.
podcast.
Like anytime I start to get in a Twitter fight, I am so tempted to try and just get Benji involved because I know he can scorch the earth with people online better than I could. And I'm like, let me get Benji in on this, man, because he'll lay a verbal smackdown, dude. He'll cut such a good promo on anybody, man. Yeah, it's so.
So going back to when me and Kevin joined in, because we did join in a little bit before episode 50, and at this point we're going slowly because you guys are just doing Raw and SmackDown. That's why we're called the Smack Raw podcast, because it initially was just Raw and SmackDown, if I'm not mistaken. From there, like Benji came in because you want to do NXT and 205 Live. Sebastian helped chime in there. Benji just disappeared and teleported to a new dimension, and you needed new people on the show. Me and Kevin joined in. I actually joined on the show for the same reason Kevin did. I saw Sebastian's post. I found the podcast, and I reached out to him, and I went through there. Honestly, like Sebastian, I don't even remember like following you. I don't remember you following me. I don't remember if we ever interacted with each other. I saw that tweet on my timeline, and I'm like, let me jump on board, because I was trying to do YouTube for a while, and it was just like a one-man show. And it was like editing, producing, recording, everything was all me. And I just got burnt out. And I figured maybe this is my chance to like work with other people to put out a product and do something that I've wanted to do. And I honestly give credit to Sebastian to be on this podcast. If it wasn't for Sebastian, Kevin and I probably don't ever join the show.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say because
am I broken?
No, you're back, Rob. There you go.
Oh, man, I've been talking.
Oh my gosh!
Like you said, we lost Rob. I thought you were joking.
No, yeah, we lost you, man. There you go. You're back though. It's cool. We missed you, man. No, so everyone kind of filled a part like so far, and because when Sebastian, Benji brought the legitimacy to the show, and then Sebastian brought such a creativeness and always coming up with ideas, and then not to mention turned our whole social media side around. He got way more interaction on social media because Rob's like managing like 16 Twitter accounts as it is. So it gets watered down with Rob. So Sebastian was able to, really handle that platform. And then Vince, you came in and you've been like just our branding. Like you have literally turned our branding around immensely. And then Kevin, man, we just love having Kevin on the show, man. Kevin's just so awesome. I was trying to come up with something, Kev, but to you, man.
I'm just mostly a piece of shit.
No. Kevin.
Hashtag Bill's Mafia.
Kevin is the guy that gets invited to the party. He doesn't bring any drinks or like chips, but once he gets here, the party really takes off.
He brings the good time, man. He brings the good time.
Yeah, he really does. Like honestly, dude, like so here's the thing. I couldn't have done my very first podcast solo, by the way. So I had no experience doing this whole podcasting stuff with anyone. So I joined on the 50th episode actually with Sebastian, Kyle, and Colin at the time. And that was my first time ever doing a podcast. I was very like second guessing myself. I was nervous. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing. I wasn't even sure if I sounded right. I thought I sounded terribly. I think my second podcast in though, we were doing predictions for Clash of Champions, and Kyle's like, okay, cool. So this is what you're gonna need. Because when I was brought in, I kind of like was upselling myself. I had no experience whatsoever, but I want to be part of this podcast. I wasn't sure how legit you guys were. I don't know if you guys had like millions of followers or like a bunch of downloads.
What are you talking about? We do, of course we do.
I'm just saying, I haven't heard of you guys. So in my mind, I'm like, man, like I really want to be part of this. And like they seem like a big deal. I just want to be part of it any way I can. So with any job interview, you kind of like talk yourself up, even though you don't probably have the experience in certain stuff you do. So I was telling Sebastian, okay, I can do this. I can help host the show. I can help record. I'll do this, and that. And Kyle took that to believe like, okay, he's going to be my number 2 guy. He's going to be hosting or whatever. I kind of agreed that I'd be the host of NXT while Kyle takes over AEW whenever those 2 shows went head to head. And my very first crack at being a host was very last minute, and I was just thrown into the fire by Kyle. He just sent me the thumbnail. It's like, okay, these are all the applications you need. This is how you record. This is how you do it. And this is your thumbnail. This is the thumbnail for the video. Go ahead. You're gonna knock it out the park. And I'm like, I guess. I was. And here's the thing: it was supposed to be Rob, and then Rob fell asleep. Rob fell asleep on us.
Yeah, he did.
Kyle, Sebastian weren't even like available. Benji was still like disappeared. He was still in the shadow realm. He hadn't reappeared at this point. So it was going to be me and Kevin, the 2 new guys. I think at this point Kevin maybe has like 2 podcasts in, but I've only had 1 podcast, and now I'm in charge with the task of running this podcast. And the only thing that saved it was I kind of did on YouTube pay-per-view predictions. So this was along the ballpark of stuff that I've been comfortable with and I've done. So without you, Kevin, I wouldn't have been able to record that very first episode with the success that it had. And not to gas myself up, because we've been doing that with Benji this whole time. But I feel like without you, that episode doesn't have the success that it has. And without that episode having the success it had, we wouldn't have more viewers and more downloads coming our way since we joined onto the podcast.
To be fair, it's kind of funny. Kevin was like, "Yeah, I was recording a day later. They threw me in a fire, and you did the same thing. We wanted you guys to be ready. It was about to pick up, so we're not just like, dicks. All right,
we got 3 weeks, man. Like, get the
rest. I wasn't sleeping. I was listening. I wasn't sleeping.
We was not trying to be assholes. We were just trying to get you guys prepared. All right.
Nah.
You know what? That's
good, man. That's the best way to learn, honestly. So it was.
I do got to say one thing though. I do want to say one thing, and then we'll. I think Vince, we'll be ready to go ahead and get I don't know, the bands or whatever you have for the second segment. But I want us to get our. No, that's exactly it. I want our formal introduction with Mr. J Thunder. Like, this is a lot of our first time getting to meet the guy, and this is going to be episode 100. Really, this should be known as the formal debut of J Thunder to the Smacked Raw crew. So, go ahead, Vince, man. This is you and Benji's your guy that you brought on the show.
Okay, so let's paint the picture here. Talking about the episode, I was heavily promoting the podcast on all my social medias. Obviously, me and Jay probably have each other on every social media. We have each other's phone number, so there's no way he doesn't get in contact with me. So at this point, I put my info out there, and if it wasn't for Sebastian's throwback ideas, Jay wouldn't have stumbled into the podcast and listened into us. So it was actually like, Jay, tell us about that. You actually, I think you said it was the No Way Out, or was it the
Armageddon? Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was the No Way Out 2000 pay-per-view. That was one of my favorite Hell in a Cell matches. So it's probably one of the top 3 in
wait, it's ranked number 2. Go look at my list. I'm just saying.
Oh my god.
Excuse me.
Right behind.
I'm sorry.
Right after Undertaker Mankind.
Nope.
If it's not Undertaker Mankind, then your list is wrong.
Okay, come on, guys.
This is Jay's time, man. This is Jay's time, all right?
I had to plug my list. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Like that list is super accurate. Wrong. So I can't front, man. Come on now. The King of the Ring Hell in a Cell was God.
That was not number 1.
Best ever? Yeah, I know.
So I literally was looking at Vince's, I think it was his Instagram, and I noticed that he had plugged in the Smack Raw podcast. So I sat here and I was like, oh, they're doing throwbacks on No Way Out 2000. I was like, cool, I'll go in and check it out. And I enjoyed the podcast. I was on the train listening to it before I had insurance on my car again. But I literally enjoyed that whole thing, and I was like, I let him know. I was like, hey, let Kyle know that was awesome. Like I enjoyed every moment of that. It was awesome.
Wait, I never got this message.
Okay.
Vince.
You throw me under the bus. I forgot to cast up.
You're gonna be fired as secretary, man. Come on.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Go on, Jay. Jay, you know what? Thank you. We don't get much compliments here on the show, so thank you. Like,
no, like I'm surprised. I'm surprised Vince didn't tell you, because I told him, I was like, dude, that freaking episode was fucking awesome. I was like, dude, I definitely enjoy you guys and what you guys are doing. And then I think I don't know how it got into it, but we were literally talking for maybe I think it was the day after I had came out of practice or something like that. And he was like, hey, if you want, man, we could try to get you as a guest on the show. And I was like, dude, I'm down for it. I was already down for it because, and I didn't have an issue with it either, because I stream on Twitch, so it was never an issue. So I was like, hey, let's do it. I'm down, especially because of the fact it's wrestling too. Like, why not?
Oh, here's the thing. Me and Jay, we're personal friends because we used to work together at GameStop. So I don't think of him as Jay Thunder, the indie wrestler that's been doing this for 3 years. I see him as
his coworker.
I see him. Yeah, exactly.
Here at
so
the
I see
Smack
him
Raw
as Jay.
podcast, we keep it kayfabe, and Jay Thunder is his wife.
Yeah,
That's
man.
what it says on his birth certificate. That's what it says on his ID. Okay, there is no not Jay Thunder. I don't appreciate that.
So here's how Jay came about. So I saw Jay on Instagram promote his recent match. I commented on it. I'm like, dude, man, you're killing it. Because sometimes I forget that he was actually training to be an indie wrestler. He told me this back when we were working.
He was born a wrestler. Kayfabe.
Yeah.
Kayfabe.
He was born a wrestler. He was born into this profession. And honestly, guys, he has one of the meanest spears. Benji can attest to that. Benji has seen that spear, and he doesn't gas anyone up. But man, that spear was dope. But going back to it, actually
I'm getting an idea
for
a punishment video for losers on predictions. But go on.
That's a topic that we have to tackle on. But it was actually, again, if it wasn't for Sebastian doing the throwbacks, Jay doesn't get it invested into the show as much as he did because he is a big Attitude Era guy. And if it wasn't for Benji being the guy, Benji being out there trying to network and try to get interviews with wrestlers, and he actually just kind of like brought it to my attention. It's like, yo, we should try to go out there, try to get some interviews with wrestlers, like try to expand the content on our show. And that's when I saw Jay's post on Instagram. I'm like, wait, one of my good friends is actually a wrestler. Let me ask if he'd be willing to be on the show. Like I told him, hey,
all right, listen, I'm sorry, but hold on. You've been part of a pro wrestling podcast for how long until it dawns on you that you have an in with a legitimate pro wrestler? What the fuck?
Oh, long story short, he's a friend. I wanted him as a guest, and before I knew it, he became an integral part of our NXT recaps. I couldn't do the show without him. He honestly is like.
But you did the show without him for like 3 years. That's what Kyle just established.
Well, I was on the show for 3 years, Rob. Anyway, Jay, dude, it's great to actually have you. And like Kyle was saying, this is actually your formal introduction to the entire group here, minus Kevin, Benji, and myself. We want you on here as much as we can because obviously you can give us an insight that no one else can. You're actually a wrestler, and that's something that most podcasts just don't have.
And Speak for yourself.
Oh my!
No, I'm just kidding. You're awesome, Jay.
So for the most part, I definitely appreciate all of you guys. Like this is first of all, this is just for me formally introducing myself because I guess. Because I haven't introduced myself to Rob, I haven't, or Kyle, or Sebastian, but I've talked to both Benji, Vince, and Kevin. So I'm definitely here for the long run, guys. Whenever you need me, I am here. So
I'm gonna just put this out there, Jay. You have to be on the next throwback episode with Kyle and Sebastian. I feel like that's a must.
It already feels that's exactly what it feels like is yeah. So you're gonna be part of the throwback crew.
If our last
quick question before we get into what throwback would we be doing?
So Seb likes to poll it. He likes to us kind of spitball like a handful of pay-per-views, and then Seb throws it on a community poll.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Well, listen. So spoiler, like Survivor Series 02 won, but
Survivor Series 97.
Had 02 not won, I would have just made an executive decision. So, anyways, Survivor.
But I mean, you know what? I can't lie. Survivor Series 02 is that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Okay,
first elimination chamber. So
97 was the big one, right? That's when Brett tapped, right? 97.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Damn.
All right. So
he does our intro right. Like we went over this, bro. He's on our intro, man. We can't keep dogging Brett.
Just because he's at our intro doesn't mean he didn't tap out. I'm sorry. He tapped out.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow.
You can feel it in the air, man.
Wow.
We used to be so popular.
Bad taste in my mouth.
We used to be so popular in Canada, too.
That's actually true, man. We were huge in Ontario, and then for like
I
a
already
month,
killed Ontario. I'm sorry, guys.
For a month, like we dogged Bret Hart, and all of a sudden, our Canadian viewers completely left us. Man.
Well.
Yeah.
Well,
That's funny. Well,
It's like that, guys. So, look, I'm sensing the theme here, guys. Obviously, the Canadian viewers had their favorites. We all have listed favorite pay-per-views, but let's talk about our favorite moments or episodes on the podcast. I'll go one by one. We'll start with you, Kyle. What's been, or you know what? We'll do it in reverse. Jay, since you're the newest member, we'll let you start things off. What has been your most favorite or most memorable moment or episode since being on the show?
I think it was probably so far I can't even honestly. I don't have one really because all
of
of them.
One being in the group chat with everybody at the same time.
I mean, I could say it's this one.
It's an easy out,
It's an easy out, but no, I don't want to do that. I don't want. I honestly gotta say from all the NXT, if I could put all of the NXT episodes that I've done together, I would definitely do that because I love the fact of how you and I and Benji, we had a lot of chemistry together. Everything worked smooth. It was just, three Chicago boys just repping it out there. Yeah. I love talking shit to you when you go gaga over Angel Garza.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
He knows I'm big with the big guys like Keith Lee and Dominic Dijakovic. So just in general, it was just a lot of fun. I enjoy, and this podcast is just this episode is just real good for me because number one, it's an introduction, so you guys can see who I am, but at the same time, I've been trying to get a hold of all of you guys so I can be a part of something special.
Sure,
dude,
man.
that's dope, man. Awesome.
Right on.
That hit me right in the feels, dude. That
man, that was cool, bro.
Let's get some more feel good moments. Kevin, we'll go to you.
Yo.
We'll go to you, and then we'll transition to Sebastian when Kevin's done. Kevin, what's been your favorite part or most memorable part of being on the podcast?
Okay, so my favorite moment, I think this was the first podcast that I was on with Rob, and he was talking about how he got back into wrestling and how basically Becky Lynch sold him cable.
Yes,
that was so goddamn funny. Because he was like, "Yo, I got Hulu, so I was watching it the next day, and then Becky Lynch was on, and he was like, I got to get on Twitter and live tweet it." And that's why he bought cable. And the funny thing is in the same breath, he was like, "But I don't think she should be champion anymore."
Yep.
It was so good.
She got me back in, but I'm tired of her.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep. It got turned into a soundbite. For the record, she got me back in. It was exciting, but I'm bored with her. Come on, Todd.
All right, well, since you're already talking, Rob, I know we said I'd go to Seb next, but Rob, since you've been here since the very beginning, what's been your favorite part being on the show? Dude?
My favorite part, one thing I always remember, was when Kyle gave me the segue to tell our listeners that my movement worked. Baron Corbin unblocked me.
Yo, that was a landmark. Yeah, dude, that was a landmark.
It was so amazing that it worked. The moment that because I was seriously 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day I was refreshing Twitter, and then one time it worked, and I just stared at my screen for a second. I'm like, wait, hold on, wait, and I made sure I wasn't on one of my other Twitter accounts, and I was like, oh my god, it worked. He freaking unblocked me, and when Kyle was like, Kyle's like, we have some news from Rob. I'm like, Baron Corbin unblocked me. So amazing.
Yeah, man.
He doesn't tweet much, but I look at his Twitter a lot.
The show was a driving force. In one way or another, the Smack Drop podcast has reached Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
Because the show was a driving force to get Corbin to unblock Rob. I can't believe it.
Claymore,
it happened quickly, too,
95.
Man.
I tweeted
fast.
before I went to bed. I was like, if somebody can quote this and tell Baron Corbin to please unblock me, I'm sorry, I was an asshole or whatever it was. And Claymore Chick quoted it and was like, Baron Corbin, please unblock me. And I woke up in the morning and there was the reply to her tweet and it said I can't see it. Wait. So I looked at another account and he's like, what did he get blocked for? So I'm like, bro, come on, tell him that I'm sorry. Tell him I'm sorry. And it worked.
Rob went on an apology tour. It took 3 weeks.
That was pretty. So that's pretty big. Seb, can you top that? What's been the biggest or most memorable, or just your favorite part about being on the show?
Man, there's 100 episodes. I gotta give. I gotta do a rant. All right. One of them was probably one that didn't air. Me and Benji, we did an episode post takeover, and the file got corrupted or something. It was a really good episode, and we just wasn't able to air it. But I remember that it was real fun. Second would probably be my Hell in a Cell episode. That was a fun one.
Oh my gosh, your infamous list that freaking
list.
Clean the fuck off.
The beautiful list. And the third one was probably my Sasha Banks rant about her sitting in a chair. That was fun.
She was sitting in a chair for like 4 hours.
Oh, so mad.
And now, every time somebody's doing something for a long time, I think of you.
I mean,
like,
I'm very
did you
logical.
see New Day come out and then they went to commercial? Come on, man. What was he doing in the ring?
I'll tell you what they're doing. They're standing there. Just
standing there watching commercials.
Speaking of Benji, dude, it's great to have you back just for the one time only. You are like one of like the favorite characters on this show for a lot of people and myself included. Dude, I know you've graduated and you're doing your own thing. Cheap plug to Calavera Block, his own podcast, which is gonna start on Monday, what is it?
Next
November 25th. Yeah, so Monday you're gonna start your own podcast, but
don't watch it. Don't listen to it.
Yeah, don't. Block it right now.
But anyway, so dude, like being on the show, you've seen it go through a huge makeover. Initially, just Rob, Kyle, and yourself. Sebastian being added, you disappear, come back, and now Kevin and I are here. You've done podcasts with me and Jay. You've actually like met me and Jay. So technically, you and I are the first two members of the Smack Raw podcast to ever meet each other in person. So that was monumental.
I mean that's including me too. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, but we were friends before the podcast. I'm talking about like
doesn't matter.
You're still my friend, Jay. I still appreciate you.
I do want to shout the first
I don't
time.
think you do.
I do want to shout the first time I was supposed to record with Benji, but like there was a storm and he got stuck in.
Benji just has a lot of like bad luck when it comes to stuff, man. You can make like a whole soap opera from his life, but Benji, go ahead, man. The floor is yours, bro. Like being on the show.
So I gotta say, the moment I remember most, obviously, is the All Chicago podcast. Dope as hell. I even got to go back farther than that. I got to go back to I covered the SummerSlam. It was my first time actually, having to host a show, record and all that stuff. So it was my first time doing that. I believe it was with Sebastian or Kyle, I think.
I wasn't supposed to be on it because I was sick as hell, but then I was in charge. I was like, look, I'll try to. I'll just be on the sidelines here. I'll chime in, but this is still your baby. Like,
right. So it was my first time doing that, and usually to this point, I had just been a guest on different podcasts and everything. So I never actually hosted a show. So that was my first time hosting it, and just trying to run that and everything. My back was hurting from carrying it all, but I did it, and So that was pretty monumental for me, especially moving forward with a lot of different things. It was a real confidence builder. But even from all that, just interacting with different people who I wouldn't normally interact with, like y'all from all over the place. It's pretty cool knowing how you can interact and reciprocate that with different people, and especially going further, going back to that Chicago show, just that chemistry off the bat, like that was to me my favorite episode. And yeah, I got other stuff going on, and stuff like that. You got to be ambitious, got to keep making moves and all that. But you always want to remember how you kind of start, So if anything, this was all a big learning experience for me, and it was pretty cool meeting a whole lot of different people. Even though y'all like to gas me up, and I love to hear it. I can listen to a whole podcast of y'all just telling me great things about me. I can listen to that all day. But This was pretty cool, just this whole entire experience for sure. And look, it's already 100 episodes deep. That's wild, yo.
Yeah, and it is kind of wild. So Kyle, since you're the
Yeah.
forefather, you're like Mr. Mount Rushmore of the Smack Rock podcast.
Jesus.
Let's close it off with you, man. What's been your favorite moment being on the show? You've literally been from the ground up.
I don't really have like I don't. there's been a couple good ones, honestly. Like I remember as I touched on it earlier, as chaotic and as rough as it was, the Benji securing like our first interview, I think actually our only interview to date, and then me having to bust my butt to try and create a show, and then like ultimately just like I remember like being stressed, and then like 5 minutes before the show I was like, you know what, we're just gonna have a good one anyways, and it ended up being a lot of fun. So I don't know, like I think that kind of woke me up to like how bad I actually wanted to do this, because it would have been an easy out to just like bail because you weren't prepared, you know. But but like other than that, man, it's the best part of the show. Like I said, I'm the cornball of you guys. Like it's really been like just bringing y'all in and like creating like an internal community to create content for an external community, and like that whole aspect has just been the blast for me, honestly, man. Like I don't really that, and you know, a couple of favorite moments like that I had. Also, you guys weren't even on the show, and I don't want to gas up other people that are present, but one in particular was when we had JM and Yisik on the show. Me and Rob got like our first guests, and
I enjoyed that show.
Dude, we
so
didn't
much.
know what the hell we were doing. We just drank way too much. All of us did, and like put on like such a sloppy but fun podcast. I don't know, man. It's all been a blast. To be fair, I can't really pick a favorite. But
Now,
I think when the show's at its most chaotic, that's when it's my most favorite. I think that's where I'm trying to go with this.
Just fair. I think chaos and controversy just makes for great entertainment.
So pretty much this whole week.
Yeah.
This whole week. Okay. So I guess I'll weigh in myself. Okay, go ahead.
I do have a question, and this is for the vets. I don't know if you guys, and maybe this is just me because I'm just the type of person that, you know, I like to hear the critique of, you know, all the vets that have been doing this longer than I have. You know, if you guys have heard me, what do you guys think about me being, you know, here?
Oh, damn. You want like that's
on air.
On air. Like, what do you think of me? Like, wow, bro. Just set the precedent for the rest of our freaking like chemistry.
That was ballsy.
I mean, what do you expect? I mean, I'm the new kid.
Oh, dude. So for real, I'm stoked that you're actually a pro wrestler, you know, and then that's going to be really cool. I haven't, like, honestly, I'm not going to lie, man. I don't go back and listen to our episodes. I don't think I'm alone in that.
Wow.
Before people throw stones.
I mentioned that on the first recording, but it didn't get recorded.
I really don't. I cringe at our voice. I'm excited to have you on. And what really intrigues me is, for one, it turns out like our show originally spanned out everywhere. Apparently our show's headquarters now is in Chicago. Because that's where we're spawning like most of our hosts. But nah, man, you're a wrestler. I think that's cool. I don't know. I'm rambling over here.
My answer. Do you have a title?
Unless if you want to count the toy one that's under my bed, then yes.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
No.
Nope.
It doesn't count.
It's a
Come at me
Pokemon
on my
Master,
podcast
Rob.
when you
He
have
is
a title
Pokemon
around your waist.
Master.
Unfortunately, I don't have one, but just a spoiler alert for you guys. Next year, I will be for one of the promotions that I'm working at. I will be fighting for the tag titles. Just an FYI.
They
Good luck,
That's
man.
great.
They book longer
that
out
just
than
made me happy.
WWE does. Shit.
Like, I was just trying to be funny, but that just seriously made me happy for you.
That's so
No,
dope.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, I was being truthful too. He said next year they book longer out than WWE does. Jesus.
Man, you have to do that, man. And okay, so everyone's kind of chimed in. I'm gonna keep this kind of short. Without excluding anyone on here, I think my favorite episode I've recorded has to be the mock draft I did with Benji, just because I feel like that was the most like BS, just like off the cuff, type of podcast I've ever done, and it wasn't us just like recapping something. It was legit something that I've always done as a kid. It was like just like make up my own roster, and then like I said, like Benji stealing the club away from me pissed me off. Then I took Lucha House Party from him. He got pissed off. It was the whole thing back and forth. Kyle,
I lied. I did go back and watch that episode. That is one that I watched. I actually went to bed watching that junk, and I remember waking my wife up because I was laughing so hard. I had headphones on, so I didn't know how loud I was being.
You guys recorded that, and I think like the day after was the most active the chat has literally ever been. Like you guys nuts about your pick.
I don't know. It might have been the day before. It might have been the day before because if
it
you
might
remember
have been.
right,
I just remember
it was
you guys
supposed to be me and Vince, and then something happened, and Benji said he wanted in, and then I was like, okay, that's a 2-person guy. Show if you want in, I'll take my spot out. And Benji's like, no, you take it. So yeah,
my kayfabe ass came in and was just like,
Side-Town Crew.
We're gonna jump everyone to the AEW NXT side of things, but okay.
I just came in like, who got Baron Corbin? You win. I mean,
I immediately got Rob's approval. I had Randy Orton and Baron Corbin.
And there you go, boom, done deal, done deal. Them two together honestly, can take out Brock Lesnar.
So honestly, like I said, that was probably my favorite episode recording, just because it was just like us, just like spitballing. It was just like off the cuff. It wasn't like scripted. It was very authentic, kind of like what we're doing now. This episode is really becoming one of my favorite because this is the first time we've ever had the entire crew on the same podcast. I guess another favorite moment was when me and Kyle, for the first time, we did a dual face cam, very professional like, and did a live stream on YouTube. And I hope to do more stuff like that in the future.
I trolled y'all.
That should be definitely something we do, like all of us here. That definitely.
That brings me to my closing point, and so we can wrap this a long podcast off. We're 100 episodes in. I don't know if you guys figured we'd be here at this point this soon. One by one, quickly, what are your goals for the podcast going forward? Rob, we'll go by you. And then we'll start with you since nobody's jumping in.
My goals for the podcast is honestly to have this. Like, you guys have views of like viewers and numbers. I just have views of getting together and bullshitting about wrestling. So that's my answer. Yeah, my goals are to bullshit more like tonight.
I mean, I love that because that's really at the end of that's what it should be. It should be very authentic, just a couple of guys talking wrestling, just like Kyle likes to plug. But Kyle, like, what is your goal, like for the podcast, like maybe 100 episodes down the line, or just in the future in general?
It's so you want me to put out like the stuff out? We gotta get.
Be bold, man.
All right, so I want okay, so really what I want to do is I want us to go ahead and get more interviews. That's my goal is, and also to for one day for us all to meet up at a wrestling event, maybe a WrestleMania, a SummerSlam, something like that, an East Coast show that we could all somehow plan ahead and go attend as the Smack Draw crew in person. So that's my goal. That's my goal for
that'd be
all of us.
Super dope.
Yeah,
a little small like goal for like not my main goal, but a small goal. At one point we needed to have crew shirts. But Sebastian, dude, you're like one guy that comes in here and tries to put on as much content. Without the throwback episode, Jay doesn't get involved. Without you reaching out and tweeting, me and Kevin don't get involved. What's your goal for the podcast? What do you hope we accomplish down the line?
Well, I am a little on the road side about having fun stuff. That's always the thing. If you're not having fun with this, I never want to become like I don't want it to feel like I'm having a second shift at work. I still want to have fun. But at the same time, like I said at the top, I did plan on starting my own before this. And I don't do anything unless I do want the best. I just want to see us keep growing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, you're up, my man. What is your goals for the podcast?
What, me?
Yeah, no,
Sorry, you cut out on me a little bit there for a second.
He's like, hey, I get a turn?
Yeah. I'm so excited, guys. I mean, I'm ready, Coach. I'm ready. Nah, man. I just want to have fun with it, man. I love pro wrestling. It makes me feel like a kid. I love just talking about it with you guys, and it's cool that it's growing. I love that it's doing those kinds of things. Bring it on. I'm ready to look, I've learned a lot about doing these kinds of things through you guys and shit like that too, which is really awesome. So goals are just to have fun and to learn more about promoting and the producing aspect of it and all that sort of thing. It's just a lot of personal enrichment.
Very well said, bro. So Jay, the new guy on the block, dude, I know you're just maybe a month into the podcast, but what do you hope we accomplish down the line?
Well, for the most part, I feel like what I plan to what I want to get accomplished is the fact of just letting everyone know that the Smack Raw podcast is the shit. So that's number one.
Sure.
My number two is already been done because I've been talking about trying to do a podcast ever since I was in college. I just, I never really had the resources to really do it. And now that I'm trying to do pro wrestling, even though, it's hard, it's hard to say what I exactly want to accomplish because the fact that I'm a part of a crew that's awesome as this, anything that we accomplish is just going to be great for me.
So dope. Well said, man. Well said. So
there's no I in team. That's all I gotta say.
Is it? So before I chime in, again, we're gonna throw it to Benji, Mr. Calavera Comedy himself.
Right, so...
No, he's gonna disappear. No, forget that.
Hold up. No, hold up. Before you chime in, dude, I gotta say, dude, it's great to have you on here. I don't think I would have wanted to do this episode without you being on it.
Boo. He did, no, man, no, forget that. He ditched us on the last one. Nah, man, nah. When the world needed him the most, he vanished.
Look, man.
At least we know he's alive this time.
That is true, man. That is true.
But Benji, again, dude, I'd like to say, it really doesn't feel the same doing a podcast without you. But I'm happy for you, bro. You've graduated. You're doing your own thing.
I think we did a good job, Vince. Dang.
Oh, I know, dude. Why can you go 5 minutes without getting butthurt about something?
No,
I love you just equally,
man. No, I can't because you know what? I thought I was a good addition to the team, not just second.
You're a phenomenal. You're a fantastic.
I feel like this episode has been a low key way to gas Benji up. Vince is planning after the episode, be like, so. You want to come back? That's the whole driving force of this episode.
Okay, but yeah, okay. Again, Benji, gotta say thanks again for joining us. For one more time.
Oh Jesus!
Congrats on the success, dude. I hope you hit it out the park with Calavera Block. But dude, what
CM Punk,
going forward?
CM Punk.
Going forward, bro.
Just when you thought they had all the answers.
What would you like to see us
the culture?
Oh my god!
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm very glad you're able to find a number two like Jay.
What?
I'm number two?
I'm very glad you were able to find someone to almost pick up the slack. I'm very, very happy.
Wow. Oh. So this is just rain on Jay's parade. All right, cool.
Man, you gotta bring the thunder if we're gonna rain all over it.
No, that's cool. That's good. That's cool. That's all right.
Yo, I sense a rivalry coming up, man.
Right?
Stay tuned on the next episode of Smack Raw. No, but yeah, go ahead.
Benji, you see my spear. You wanna feel it?
Oh, you could spear me anytime.
Whoa!
That sounded so wrong.
Sounds like somebody has a crush.
This show has made more friends than I knew, man.
Oh my god.
Anyways, holy cow! Let's go back to.
Let's
go back.
Talk.
I'm done.
Real talk for this podcast, for you guys going forward. Like, I already see that there's chemistry there. Y'all got that goal. You know, as much as you guys, all these nice things you said about me, that's I appreciate that and everything. But
you better come back, you jerk.
Well, in my experiences, I've learned never to say no.
Exactly. CM Punk said that as well.
I feel that was a nice way of saying no without saying.
No, I feel like it. I feel like it is, but he's scarred for life now. He has to.
We'll see. We'll see what happens when you guys hit episode 200. We'll see.
It's gonna be the John Cena of the podcast, showing up for big events only.
Episode 150.
He's going to. We already have a part timer on our damn show, man.
Hey, Vince, hit him up for episode 150.
But like, I hope nothing but the best for y'all. Like the way y'all got talking right now, just from hearing y'all, just from talking, because I haven't said much, but just from hearing y'all, I think y'all got it. Y'all in a good place, and going forward, especially with all the wrestling we got going on now these days, like I feel like y'all are gonna be doing good, and maybe you'll your numbers back up in Canada. You'll do all that.
Bro, we got Canada back. We got it back. Just a heads up.
Back?
Yeah, we stopped insulting Bret Hart, so they started listening again.
Not after tonight.
Nah, you just left us, bro.
Okay, all right. So, what I like to see the podcast accomplish, and what I'd like to see going forward, I'm gonna pull a Vince McMahon. I'm talking about that money. Look, I'm sorry. I love this.
No chance. That's what you got.
Look,
I mean, money is nice.
Well,
money is nice.
Money is
okay.
We'll talk. Okay, we'll talk.
Okay. So what I like, I'm not saying. Okay, guys. Listen, bear with me, Will G. I'm not trying to say I want to it'd be nice to make a profit out of this, but what I'd like is for us to get some money coming in to help improve the quality of the show, get that nice blue snowball mic or Blue Yeti that Kyle uses, everybody being able to be technically savvy. We all get our cruise shirts, our followers go up, our downloads go up. Basically, what I want is us to be the best wrestling podcast, best podcast in general.
Yo.
I want us to be what Seth Rollins thinks he is, and be the top everywhere.
Hold up.
Damn.
Hold up. Was that a shot fired at Seth Rollins?
No, me and him are cool.
Wow. That's what I got.
Was that a shot fired at Seth Rollins?
That was good. That's such a
good
good line, man.
That was a valid shot fired.
No, but
that's
in all honesty, guys,
I liked that a lot, man. I really liked that. That was a hell of a drop, man.
I'm a little butthurt.
I'm gonna use that in real life, man. And when I don't feel like someone, you know what? I want to be the person you think you are.
Ooh,
dude,
that sounds like crazy.
That's pretty vicious, man. That's dope.
Okay, but again, I love this whole thing. I love being on the podcast. I've enjoyed being able to share this time with all you guys. Lovey-dovey, all this sappy stuff. It's going all your way. The feels are definitely coming in. It was great to have Benji back. I love that one of my best friends in Jay is on the podcast with me. I enjoy so much.
You forgot to tell Kyle that I like his show.
I know, man.
The age of 27 is getting to me, and I'm forgetting stuff. Okay,
27? What? 27.
You're literally the youngest person on the show.
Chill out, bro. You don't even have a kid.
He is not. He is not the youngest. I am.
Well,
okay.
Life experience. You're the oldest one out of all of us, all right, man?
At 27. At 27, I still look like I was. At 27, I still look like I was chiseled by the gods, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, man,
I'm 25 and I look like I'm 40 with my beard and shit.
I hit my physical peak at 15 and then I dropped at 16. That's how it went for me. I had one good year and that was it. That was it, man. I'm not gonna oversell myself, but
I don't know what you're talking about. You still look like you're 18, bro. What are you talking about?
So I take a bath in the Lazarus pool from time to time. That doesn't mean I don't have this. That doesn't mean I'm not old, okay? I have the needs of a 97-year-old, okay?
How the how the heck did that happen?
Oh
Hey, man.
Whoa! This is going. We're walking on a fine edge over here. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, speaking of old age, I really do hope that our podcast reaches that old age where we reminisce of the good times and people talk about us like one of the greats of the past.
You know what? Speaking of old age, I want your guys' podcast to be so old that it's booked in Saudi Arabia.
oh,
Benji, you ruined it, and I'm leaving. I'm out. But
Jesus.
okay, I think we rambled on for long enough.
Will I get paid billions?
Oh my God.
Sebastian, we barely get paid a penny now, dude. I don't think it's gonna.
We're not in Saudi Arabia right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, let's take this guy. Let's take this home, guys. Anything you guys
Are
want
you
to
sure?
say?
Are you sure we got to take it home? I mean, like, man, this is pretty good.
We put the rest out.
I think
no.
Vince is saying he's done, Jay. I think that's what it is. Vince is tired of us, man.
Oh, honestly, I feel like we've hit every bullet point, every topic I want to cover. I think I've gotten everything I wanted out of this episode and more, and then some.
Oh,
I think
so this episode's all about Vince now, is it? All right, well, Vince
because he's the one recording it. It's about him.
well, technically, Kyle's recorded, and I'm just hosting it. But we're breaking kayfabe.
You just made it worse.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, like
man.
anything you guys want to add on before we take it home? As they say in the wrestling business.
How about this, man? Let's give Benji his due, man. What's up with Calavera Block? What's going on over there for you, man?
All right, man. Well, it's just starting my own thing. It's not even just Aleister Black's here.
No, that was my bad. I was hitting my controller.
Shit. No.
Jesus.
Just starting my own
my
thing,
bad,
man.
Guys. My bad, guys.
It's all right, man. Just on my own thing. It's not even just about wrestling. It's gonna be about a whole bunch of different things. Gonna be starting that. Doing it on my own. So it's gonna be a little different. Just trying to dive in and see how that goes. You know what I mean? I got some interviews lined up already. Come down when that happens. So it's just it's a different thing. It's just not even just so much about wrestling. Music, movies, all that stuff, and just all into one little thing. So we're gonna see how that goes. That's gonna be Tuesday. Is gonna be the first episode, and that's pretty much it, man. I don't got much to say about it. It's gonna be a different thing. It's gonna be probably one that. It's not going to be like anything you've ever heard yet. That's what I'm going to say about that.
Okay, that's good, man. That's good. Leave some intrigue.
Sure, leave them wanting more.
I definitely wouldn't mind being if you need a guest, bro.
Doing this shot on the podcast.
Wow, man. Hold on. I'm about to mute Jay. I'm about to mute Benji. Like, I just gave him his plug, man. I didn't say go ahead and defect. Like,
I wasn't defecting. I mean, that's just me. That's just me. That's not me leaving. That's me branching. Well, oh God.
Branching to a member that used to be part of the podcast.
That's how it starts.
I would never.
Jay has
leave.
the shortest career, man.
The quickest heel turn in the
quickest big time. Like, he big times us after like 3 episodes. He's like, well, I'm famous now. All right, moving on.
No, I promise. I will say this though. If I promise that, like, literally, I will try my best to. If I wind up becoming like this famous wrestler, that I try my best to come on each and every show.
Jay, you better be here for 500. All right.
All right, we'll hold you to it, man.
All right, Seb, Kyle, Rob, Kevin. Any final thoughts?
Real quick. If you've only downloaded one of our episodes, just want to thank you guys. Just any support, we appreciate it, and we can hope we can continue to just entertain you.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
I do think it would be only fitting, though, if old Benji over here sends us out.
Oh, put me on the spot. All right, well, This is a grand meeting of many different people from many different backgrounds, from many different places. But if anything, what we've learned from anything, if we just take a moment to zen a bit, I think the thing important to gather here is that no matter where we come from, no matter where we go, wrestling just brings everybody together. You know? And that's what the Smack Raw Pod's all about.
Oh, that sounded so corny. Oh my God, that sounded so corny.
Hey man, he's trying to find his Shanti, okay? He's trying to find the show Shanti.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That was so wrong of me to say. But that was so fucking corny.
Okay, that outro did not go as planned. Benji, try again.
Okay, you know.
This has been the Smack Raw Pod. Fuck you guys. We're out.
Oh my God.